Pyra and Mithra are the latest fighters of Super Smash Bros., and I don't know if you guys knew this, but I would call myself a fan of Xenoblade. Every Smash newcomer creates newcomers of their respective franchise, and though I've already made a review and series retrospective, I wanted to dedicate a video to those aspiring beginners. In fact, we're already off to a good start because the tutorials are quite lax for how much depth there is to uncover. So, without further ado, here are 15 tips for anyone planning to play Xenoblade 2. Number 1. Avoid spoilers. Wow, imagine dismissing a character's writing because they have big breasts? That would be silly. Xenoblade 2 has a memorable cast and fantastic story that, to say the least, has many surprises in store. And considering Sakurai's track record, some of those surprises may no longer be. Granted, it is more recent than the likes of Xenoblade 1 and Final Fantasy VII, so there might not actually be spoilers this time, but I wouldn't count on that. The game itself has another culprit known as the Blade Album. This shows the silhouettes for each and every rare blade, and I can promise it is not worth ruining the fun. Number 2. Underleveled? Visit the inn! Xenoblade is a series where EXP is given for side quests and exploration, and 2 in particular lets you decide when to use that EXP at an inn. This can prevent becoming overleveled, and most importantly, prevents the need to level grind. As long as you're not focusing 100% on the story, you should never have to dedicate hours to level grinding, thank goodness. Number 3. Make a run for it. Enemies on the field can become aggressive upon entering their sights. Escaping is as simple as running away, but they can be stubborn. Luckily, there are 2 ways to instantly make your getaway. A cutscene will always end an encounter, so if you get attacked near a story or some side quest destinations, there's no need to slow down. The more common scenario is being attacked near vines or ladders, and guess what? Those will also end encounters. As strange as this is, it must have been intentional, because a lot of the areas that are dense with enemies also happen to be dense with climbable objects. Number 4. Explore the world and the cutscenes. There are some cutscenes featuring areas that may seem unnoteworthy, yet are indeed accessible to the player. Don't let them pass you by, as they tend to compensate the curious. Likewise, the world is full of secrets that are worth seeking out if not for the sights alone. Even if you run into something that can't be cleared yet, the map will leave a reminder to return. Number 5. Don't kill the baby Ardun in Torragoth. Killing it will lock you out of an easy way to grind legendary core crystals, a must for getting rare blades in the endgame. But, number 6. Don't sleep on common blades. Xenoblade 2 makes use of a free gacha system where blades are pulled from various types of core crystals. Rare blades are unique characters with typically higher potential, while common blades are the exact opposite. This doesn't mean they're worthless though, there are a plethora of mechanics that'll make you rely on commons. And depending on their skills and the party setup, a common may even be a better choice in battle than a rare. Besides, you'll get your fair share of rares to the story, side quests, and pity system, so pulling another common isn't the end of the world. Number 7. Pay attention to field skills. A blade's affinity chart is akin to a skill tree that is progressed by certain objectives. While it's satisfying to fill out, make sure to pay special attention to the green side. This is how you level up a blade's field skills, which are occasionally required to beat the game. Thankfully, the story will give you the appropriate field skills to level up. Issues should only arise due to negligence. Number 8. Avoid using overdrives on wrecks. Overdrives are limited items used to transfer blades between party members, but when it comes to wrecks, you can unlock a much more convenient method later on. I'm not saying to never do this, just don't go overboard. Number 9. Don't be afraid to experiment. Experimentation is encouraged all throughout Xenoblade 2, including, believe it or not, the gacha system. While it may sting to not be dealt the cards you wanted, the game is designed so that any hands can be successful. For example, a blade's weapon does not solely determine your arts, they're also influenced by which driver is using said weapon. These kinds of variables make it so there is still a ton of value in using healer blades with Rex, even though Nia is traditionally the main healer. The obvious strategy may work fine, but it doesn't mean it's the only good option, nor does it mean it's the best. Number 10. Don't stress over mechanics. Xenoblade 2 is filled to the brim with mechanics, and that can be intimidating at times. It may be one of the most complex games you'll ever play. However, the depth is less of a requirement for enjoyment and more of a reward for efforts. You don't have to feel obligated to dive any deeper because most of the mechanics are completely optional. Poppy Swap is by far the best example of this. It's basically a unique method of customizing Poppy, but for the average player, Poppy is perfect the way she is. While I recognize the advantages, I've barely touched it myself, despite beating the game multiple times. So although I recommend giving an earnest try, don't feel the need to dissect everything, because that couldn't be farther from the truth. Number 11. Try to focus on Chapter 3. One of the best parts of Xenoblade 2 is how its combat keeps evolving and how rewarding it is to master. The consequence of this is it might initially come off as basic. Chapter 3 is where both the story and combat reveal their true potential. It'll take about 5 to 7 hours to reach that point, so if you're feeling a bit underwhelmed in Chapter 2, there's a much better impression around the corner. Speaking of which, a popular criticism of this game is the combat being slow. I can't necessarily invalidate that opinion, but I do often find it stems from a lack of understanding. The next few tips should be helpful in correcting that. Number 12. Cancel auto attacks. Every attack in Xenoblade 2 has a purpose other than damage. They're always building towards something grander. Since the process begins with auto attacks, you're going to want to get used to canceling them as soon as possible. Instead of waiting for the full animation, you can slightly move after the first hit to quickly restart the animation. The auto attacks will thus come out faster, meaning arts will charge faster, meaning specials will charge faster, and you get the idea. Number 13. Use pouch items. Pouch items give temporary buffs to your party and increases a blade's trust, which is most notably a prerequisite for affinity charts. They're available practically everywhere and aren't as expensive as they are potent. There's honestly no excuse for not using them aside from laziness. Like canceling auto attacks, pouch items will speed up battles with barely any effort. Number 14, perhaps the most important. Fusion combos. My biggest regret about the aforementioned videos is that I didn't mention fusion combos. They are purely optional and pretty easy to learn, but since they have no mandatory tutorial, I should have emphasized how powerful they are. Before I do that though, let's briefly recap the other types of combos. Blade combos involve your blade's special attacks and the combo tree. By following the tree, the combo will advance with the appropriate level of special attack as well as the appropriate elements. Driver combos involve your driver's arts and should be familiar to any Xenoblade fan. Some arts will have effects such as break, topple, launch, and smash. Inflicting them in this order will not only stun the opponents, but may spawn valuable items and HP. Once you grasp these two concepts, you're all set, because a fusion combo refers to them happening at the same time. Recall that a driver combo has 4 stages, while a blade combo has 3. Well, the efficiency of a fusion combo is based on the total amounts of stages. So, if we were to complete a blade combo on a toppled enemy, that would be a total of 5 stages. Doing so would result in massive bonuses, such as an additional 75% damage and, if that was the finishing blow, 70% EXP. But here's the kicker. You'll still be dealing an extra 50% at a mere 2 stages, which should be a regular occurrence. To put it simply, if you understand how to play the game, the combat should not be slow because it constantly rewards every single action. While there is definitely a learning curve, I want to reassure you, once you get into the rhythm, these mechanics flow seamlessly together and make sense in the context of the lore. They coalesce to such magnificence that any bit of confusion will be forgotten. Last and probably least, number 15. If you're really enjoying the game, buy the DLC! Much like its combat, Xenoblade 2 is a game that continuously gets better, so if you're enjoying it early on, odds are that won't be changing. And if that's the case, I can guarantee it is worth buying its DLC prequel. Considering it comes with plenty of benefits for the base game, I sincerely think it's better to make that purchase sooner rather than later, given your confidence. Even though it is a prequel, I do recommend saving it for after the main story, or at least after Chapter 7. Nonetheless, those are my 15 tips for all you beginners out there who may or may not have been inspired by the latest Smash news. As excited as I am about Pyra and Mythra, I'm even more excited about Xenoblade 2's fandom growing. This game is far too exceptional to be overlooked, so at the very least, I'm happy I have another excuse to talk about it. As described in my retrospective, it's never gotten the fairest chance, and predictably, there are a disappointing number of Smash fans reflecting that. But through it all, thanks to the popularity of Smash and passionate creators like Chugga Conroy, I've seen so much reinvigorated love for these characters and a ton of newfound love for the game. The sudden influx genuinely feels surreal, as if my own love was validated. All I hope is to inspire even a fraction of that love, so with every ounce of passion I have for Xenoblade 2, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped. Oh wait, hold on, I actually have one more tip specifically for the Smash players out there.
This is an Ethernet!